Now from Atlanta News First Plus, this is Sports Tonight.
Hey, Bailey.
Hello, Scott.
This is Sports Tonight here on a Friday. I always like to call it Football Friday just because
There's a lot of football.
Well, I guess in our rundown today, there's also Football Friday, right?
Yeah.
Can't forget about that, right? So we have a lot to really dig into here. So let's get started. Let's get started with some Falcons.
Okay.
All right.
Let's do it.
Falcons hit the road this week to play
Yes.
the Arizona Cardinals, coming off a couple losses in a row, right? So.
Correct.
I guess the best thing, I was sort of out there the whole week. There's been a whole bunch of different controversy and talk the whole week about what could get them back on track. I have my theories about what can get them back on track. What are
Okay.
some of your theories about what can get them out the L column?
Before we get into theories,
Okay.
I have a I told you moment for you.
Here we go.
You knew
I
it
feel
was
like
coming.
I feel like you have a lot of these, Bailey. A lot
No,
of these
also,
I told
you know,
moments.
with our schedules, we don't always align up to where we get to do this show
You
together.
can rub it in my face. Go ahead.
Correct. And so I have to take the moment.
Here we go.
I do believe there was a time in Sports Tonight where you thought I was speaking wild because I said that we would see Taylor Heineke by week 7.
Okay.
We saw him
You
at
got
week
me.
8. I was off by a week.
Okay.
So I would just like my flowers, please.
I'll give you your flowers, even though I think the call to the bullpen was a little early for Taylor
Okay.
Heineke. But it's a decision that Arthur made, and so we'll roll with it. I'm sure you agreed with that decision.
So here's the thing. We never really discussed what comes after Taylor Heineke. It was just if we
kidding.
get there. I think all we've learned by the fact they have to go to Taylor Heineke is we're looking for a new quarterback in the offseason, whether
Yeah.
that's in the draft or via trade. It's not a good place to be if you're an Atlanta Falcons fan.
No.
I will circle that back to my theories of what's going on and what I think could help fix this. I do think there has to be a consistency at quarterback. They have to decide. I think there's a limbo within that. That's kind of a trickle-down effect that's affecting all the other players.
For sure.
And with that being said, I think they need to start feeding Bijan Robinson more. There comes a point where you no longer care. You understand you're going to get mediocre quarterback play. Feed Bijan. He is the talent we've seen. I mean, he had 2 back-to-back, I think it was back-to-back 100-yard games earlier in the season, and then he just disappeared, especially in the red zone. What are we doing? Play him. I think it's also the other hard part is you have these stars and what is supposedly Drake London and Kyle Pitts, and they have 3 touchdowns between each other.
Nice.
Now, that could be correlated to the quarterback position. Bijan doesn't need a quarterback. He can run. He is a freak. He is so versatile. Use him in every which way. He now becomes that person. So I do think they need to start using Bijan more. I do want to say that, like that Vikings game, first of all, the fact Josh Dobbs could light you up, I use that sparingly,
How about that? Josh Dobbs.
is embarrassing, but what a terrible game for the defense to just have one game where they weren't on point. Because I think you would agree this defense has showed up in almost every single game until this one.
That's a very interesting point, Bailey, about their defense. I was out at their Falcons camp yesterday, and defensive coordinator Ryan Nielsen talked a lot about what he's expecting from this game and from his defense from here on out. Take a listen.
Cannot let him run around. Have to make it a pocket passer. Guy's a great athlete. I mean, he's been running around and getting out of the pocket and extending plays, and I mean his entire career. So we have a conscious effort of keeping him in, and then we've got to do a good job when we have our hands on him of getting them to the ground. A sack is a sack. It doesn't matter how hard we hit him. We just get them to the ground, and play second and long, third and long, or get off the field. So those two things. But he's he's been a good player for a long time in the league and had a lot of success. So we've got to do our part in keeping him in there and making him a pocket passer.
So obviously that's a challenge within itself with the fact that you have no idea of what he'll actually look like in this offense. Does that add another layer of wrinkle to it, or is it kind of almost like, in some ways, a easier version of the last 2 weeks in terms of prep?
Yeah, I think similar. There's some similar things to what he's been doing in the past in the other offense. So that helps. But just the fact of the matter, the guy's a really good athlete. He's a good quarterback. And so, we've gone back and played against him a couple of times already in his career. studied those some of those tapes. Obviously last year, year before, those type of things. So it's not all of a sudden it's just this new quarterback we don't know anything about. So I think that'll help our guys. This is the type of player he is. Passing game, quarterback run game, those type of things. And so he definitely presents a challenge. He's a good player, and we'll be up for the test.
You've known David basically for all of his career. How have you seen him grow in Atlanta alone? He had such a standout game last week.
Yeah, he's getting better every week. Guy is an extremely hard worker, and so that has been his from the first time that he started in the league, and he's taken that approach every single day. He's one of the first guys on the field. And so those things have helped him. He's a tireless worker on the fundamentals, the technique, and the detail of the position, and he loves that part of the game. And so that has just been one of the things that he's stayed with and continues to stay with. And I think it's just through the process, through all of those actions, you're seeing, him continually get better. And I still think there is another step for him. I really do. Because when you look at his story and where he's come from in his past and everything, and playing in the league, you still see a bright future for him and then continue to improve. But we talked about this at the beginning of the season, that David could take another step, and think he has. He's playing really good run defense. He's developed more as a pass rusher the last couple of years. I think that you're seeing it in the last game. He rushed really well. But his process is put in the work. It's not a secret. Put the work in, study the tape, know your opponent, and then go out there on Sunday and execute.
Something you said in your first answer there made me think you maybe thought your guys went for the big hit too much last week as opposed to securing the tackle. Was I mishearing that?
No, I think that could have been it. I also think we could have been going for the ball, trying to get the ball, make a play, those type of things. And so the number one thing we got to do is we got to secure the tackle. Before anything else happens, we got to secure the tackle, particularly on the quarterback. Let's secure the tackle. Let's get the guy to the ground. And then play the next play. And so that's been an emphasis of, hey, tackling fundamentals, as we do every week. And think that we've done a pretty good job defensively as a tackling defense, as you look at the whole. And the last 2 weeks, we're not as up to our standards, tackling-wise. And another emphasis this week is, as we do every week on Wednesday or Thursday, is tackling as an emphasis every day. We have a tackling circuit and those fundamentals and technique. And so extra emphasis this week to get back to, our standard and what we've done here.
When you say keeping a guy in a pocket, is that anything beyond just being disciplined in your rush lanes? I mean, is there anything, any secret sauce to it?
No, that's the biggest thing. We got to work together. That's you have to trust that, if I'm rushing on the right, that the guys on the left are doing their job to keep them in. And our pressure package, the same thing, because there's second and third level guys that are going to be in the rush. And so everybody has a job to do, whether we're rushing with 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever we're doing. The guys have an area, and they have to control that area and keep the pocket tight and collapse it around them. So we can't move around, and trust is a big part of that. And then do your job. Hey, if I'm supposed to be on the left side, do your job, be on the left side. And so those are the things how, we practice, and then we watch the tape and we show the guys, hey, you're in this area, so you can't get out and around, or I'm in this area, you can't step up and through. And then we show it as a unit or groups, and then so everybody sees it, and so we can go out and execute on Sunday.
In the last couple of weeks, there were quarterbacks you faced that you didn't either have tape on or didn't know that you were, when Dobbs stepping in. In hindsight, how much of a challenge was that?
No, you know what? That's a great question. But ultimately, it all came down to how our execution, how we tackled, how we performed. There's certain calls that I want back in the last 2 games that we all could do a better job, starting with me, and that's the first thing. It starts here, and so I take full responsibility for the last 2 weeks, and we have made a conscious effort of improving those areas that I think we have played some pretty good defense, and just getting back to playing our brand, our style, those type of things, and it's been really good. Yesterday's practice was awesome. The guys were flying around, and we still have a lot to play for, and they're right there, and they're disappointed in what's going on the last 2 weeks, but on the other hand, they're working extremely hard at their area and their technique and fundamental. Yesterday's practice was fantastic. Proud of they came out, they flew around. We watched some tape together. There was some really good stuff. We had a great practice, and so they're right where we need to be mentally. Now it's just, hey, let's get out there, get a win, and then get this thing going again. And so it happens. It happens. You get a lull in the middle of the season. It happens all the time. And like I said, we've still got a lot to play for. And our guys know that. And that's the thing. We had meetings today. It was high energy. Guys are excited. And so it makes, as a coach, you're fired up. Because your players they're all into it. And fully anticipate a great practice today and a good performance on Sunday.
Coach, is it a matter of playing assignment football when you don't have the, ideally film matchup that you normally would have in this situation?
I think it's always assignment football, right? It's always, alignment, assignment, fundamentals and technique, those type of things, in the game that it always matters, every single week, and just doing your job and being happy that, you're doing your job and making the plays when they come to you, so that's something that's always, don't beat yourself, just do your job and execute. That happens in the league. The first thing, talk about it is let's execute. Let's not beat ourselves. And if the opponent's better than we are, or they're making another play that maybe didn't make the right call, then hey, good for them. They did a good job. But our first thing is, hey, everything's about us. We focus on ourselves: alignment, assignment, fundamentals, technique, execution. And then go play hard and fast and tackle well.
As far as the quarterback situation, as far as them going into this game, Kyler Murray's coming back. They could probably win with either Heineke or Ritter, I would think. We'll see what sort of
I think if Heineke
Kyler comes back in.
Well, and this is something that was interesting on Wednesday when Arthur Smith was talking about quarterbacks and what goes into choosing who. He made it very clear that they have this game, then they have the bye week. They're going to take the bye week to evaluate everything. Whatever quarterback they decide on from the quarterback or after the bye week is going to be the quarterback moving forward. That is going to be the guy. They don't want to have a carousel. So I think if Taylor Heineke loses in Arizona to a very bad Cardinals team that might have a spark with Kyler Murray and James Conner returning, they're probably going to go back to Ritter.
Oh, God, I've seen this play out so many times before, Bailey. I'm a Cleveland Browns fan.
Yeah.
I've seen this play out so many times.
Yeah.
This is not a road you want to go down. Once you start going back and forth between quarterbacks, it really means you have no quarterback. And look, I said it from the day one. Yes, you were right. You did say that Taylor Heineke would be in by week 8 or 9, and here we are, and Taylor Heineke is the quarterback. I just didn't think it was a good decision. I wanted to go all 17 games with Desmond Ritter. That way you can have a clear picture of where you're headed moving forward. I think now it just gets more murky because now you're going back and forth between each quarterback, and when you do that, you really learn nothing.
I think how you feel is very, I think that's valid. I think that's a valid way to articulate it. I think where Arthur Smith was probably feeling like, oh, God, I have to give this a go, is Desmond Ritter was turning the ball over so much.
That's facts.
And those are the things that, I'm not kidding, that changed the trajectory of a game completely.
You're right.
Completely. And he knew that eventually it was going to bite him in the butt. And that is why they ended up going to Taylor Heineke, who's probably not as, I would say he's not as turnover prone, but he maybe doesn't have necessarily
the tools.
Correct. That they were trying to give Ritter to develop in. Now, will he develop in those?
I guess only time will tell.
I don't know how much time he has left to figure it out, to be quite frank.
It probably not a lot of time with the Falcons, right?
No.
I mean, that's just where we're headed. But I do like, in this game right here, I do like them to go win. I think Heineke played solid enough last week to get the win. The defense let him down.
Yeah.
And Kyler Murray's first game back after not playing.
You
got
got to
about last
believe
year.
he's going to want to come out on fire.
For sure.
He's
I think,
been wanting to get back to that field. Now, how much he can turn around this 1-8 Cardinals team.
that team is so bad, man. I mean, they're doing they're lousy. I mean, I watched them last week
Well,
play.
what's funny is
Terrible.
they were so desperate to get rid of Cliff Kingsbury,
Yeah.
and now look where they are.
Probably worse off,
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't like this, but I do like the Falcons to win. I guess I'll call out a score. I'll go 20-14.
2014 Falcons?
I'm going 2014 Falcons.
I will go 20. Ooh, I like 2014. I'll
20?
do 2017.
Okay, we'll do 2017. But I think the verdict is in. We both expect the Falcons to win, right?
Yeah.
So it'll be a huge
Fingers
disappointment.
crossed. Don't make us eat our words.
Exactly. It'll be a huge disappointment if they lose. So there's a couple really nice games ahead this weekend.
Call 'em out.
in
Let's
the
hear
NFL.
'em.
So you know which one I'm getting ready to call
I mean,
out.
the Browns-Ravens game, I'm excited for that game. I always loved that matchup. Going to Baltimore is one of my favorite cities.
You've
and the
covered that
Ravens
matchup
are
a lot,
good.
right?
Yeah, the Ravens.
Yeah.
I like the Ravens. I know
They
it's
look like a
probably
Super
hard
Bowl
for me to
team.
hear, but they look legit. They finally are figuring it out. I do think it's kind of funny that OBJ is like just a shadow in that offense a little bit. But
I think we saw that coming.
yeah, I think everyone kind of hoped he would have a resurgence in Cleveland. That didn't happen. He had some great times with the Rams and then tore his ACL, and him and Lamar, you're thinking this could be
For sure.
a great beginning of something great. And to be quite frank, they don't even need him.
To me right now, when you look at this Browns and Ravens matchup, obviously the Ravens are playing like a Super Bowl contender. But I think when you look at the Browns right now, I think they're that team that's sort of lurking, right? So I saw ESPN come out with their top 10 list, their top 10 power rankings. The Browns weren't on there. But to me, I think oftentimes when you look at teams to get to the Super Bowl, it's a team that starts playing the right ball at the right time of year. I think when you look at the Browns, they're sort of lurking off in the distance, right? They're lurking. They're not right now. They haven't played their best ball yet. They haven't had Deshaun Watson the whole season. But everything seems to be coming together at the right time. You have Watson coming back.
So are you
played
trying
pretty
to say
good
the Browns are currently a Super Bowl contending team?
I'm just saying, look out for them right now because I think they already had a Super Bowl level defense, right? And so I think if you add just competent quarterback play, I don't think Deshaun even has to be the Deshaun Watson of the Houston Texans days. I think if he can provide competent leadership, be a couple steps above what they had with Baker Mayfield, and just make good decisions, don't turn the ball over, give them competent NFL quarterback play, alpha dog level from a mental standpoint, not necessarily from a physical standpoint. If he can just be 75% of what they brought him in to be, yes, I truly believe the Browns are definitive Super Bowl contenders.
That is a bold statement. I think
I
they're
feel
at
it.
best they're like a wild card playoff team.
And let's be real. These are the kind of games that you got Deshaun Watson for, right? You got Deshaun Watson to be able
And
to.
did he play in that Steelers game where they lost? That he
Yeah.
did.
Yeah, that
I
was
just
one
would
of the
like
games
to
he lost
point
this
that he lost
He
to
did.
a Steelers team that's run by Kenny Pickett.
He did.
That their offense looks like. Now, granted, I don't want to totally crap on the Browns.
It's a tough AFC North game, though.
I think they had totally revitalized this defense. Schwartz was such a good get for them. And so I think the defense has really propelled themselves to another echelon. The offense, I'm still not sold on. I'm still not sold on Deshaun Watson. He hasn't even remotely lived up to half of what they've paid him contractually.
I agree with that.
And I think saying they're a definitive Super Bowl team, I can see the vision. I just do not think they're there yet.
I think they're a legit Super Bowl contender. I think when you look at how well they play defense, because teams aren't going to march up and down the field. I mean, they have this season because it's the NFL, but this is a Super Bowl level defense. So I think if you add Deshaun Watson, like I say, if he can give you just 75% of the quarterback he was in Houston, I think him being an alpha dog at that position and the defense playing like they've played, even without Nick Chubb, I think this is a dark horse Super Bowl contender.
I don't think they're a
That's just where
Super
I'm
Bowl
at.
contending team.
Okay.
That is where I'm at.
All right.
I'm not getting
Okay.
on that bandwagon with you. I respect it.
I got you.
But
I
I'm
got
not
you.
hopping on. I'm
Okay.
gonna exit here.
I will just document
We
this
can circle
on December
back.
10th.
Listen,
We
I will
circle
give you,
back.
if you're right, I will
I'm
give
gonna have
you
my
your
circle
flowers.
back moment right. I'm gonna
I
have
will
my
give
flowers
you,
moment.
I will give you flowers.
All right, we'll move on. We'll move on. Jim Harbaugh, man, knee deep up in Ann Arbor, suspended for the rest of the regular season. I saw for sort of this. I don't. Do you want to call it a scandal?
Cheating.
I guess. So,
Cheating. The Connor Stallions guy. They're sidelining him.
yeah.
I don't even know what to
He's
make of
banned
this.
from the sideline, so I guess he can be a part of the weekly preparations for the game, but he can't be on the sideline during the game.
Yeah, and it seems like I feel like in the last week you've seen a lot of talk around this of just what's going to happen. Is he going to be suspended? That it might have pushed, the committee to do a little bit more in
For
a
sure.
sense of like, hey, we need to do something now and not later. That's proactive because they know they were cheating.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think they have the evidence to prove that Jim Harbaugh knew about it, but also when you're running a corporation that is a football team that brings in so much revenue, you're going to be held accountable.
Yeah.
It makes me think, and this is a totally different scale, but if you remember the Art Briles Baylor
do remember that.
situation
Yeah.
with a lot of the rape allegations that
Yep.
went on, there were things where he was like, oh, I didn't know about it.
For sure.
Or if it was swept under the rug. Well, at the end of the day, you are the person in charge and there has to be accountability. So that's probably why they're pulling the trigger now, so to speak, to get ahead of it. But at the same time, it's like, shouldn't they have some type of evidence as to him and his acknowledgement? Michigan's undefeated. They're ranked. They're looking like a playoff team right now. They still haven't played Ohio State.
Yeah.
But what a mess. What a mess.
Yeah, so I think you pretty much covered it mostly. It's just a mess, but as an Ohio State fan, I love to see their mess. So good, good for them. And but look, I don't want to see this happen to anybody. So let's hope they clean it up. Old Harbaugh down in Michigan, because after Ohio State beats them this season, I don't want any excuses. I don't want it to be he was distracted or anything. I want it to be straight. We just got our butts whipped, and it is what it is.
We see
So.
eye to eye on that. I do think Ohio State will beat Michigan.
Okay, well, there you go. See, now you
Back in a groove.
So let's jump on some Atlanta United here as they
Yes.
prepare for Game 3 this weekend, right? Against
Yes, so they
Columbus.
lost in Columbus for Game 1,
Yeah.
2-0.
Got it
They
back here,
didn't
though.
have Thiago Almada, which was a big miss in the midfield. They played super defensively. It was going great until right before half, and things started to fall apart. Cucho Hernandez was on fire. So they had a crucial Game 2 Tuesday at home, and boy, did they show out. Gigi had, I think it was 2 goals and an assist.
Yeah.
Crazy. They were on fire 1-4-2, and now it's a crucial Game 3 on Sunday at 7 in Columbus. That's going to be very hard. If they win, they will end up playing Orlando November 25th or 26th.
Yeah.
And that's a 1 elimination game. So you win, you advance. But this is a huge, huge game for them.
Yeah, so it's always exciting when they're in it, right? I didn't get the true feel of them being in the playoffs last year, so it's just really cool to have them right back at it.
Well, in Giacomakis, we got to do a sit-down interview with him, and he basically said, it's great they're in the playoffs. They're going to do everything in their power to keep advancing, but they also know this is a transitional team right now. And if that's a transitional team now, what they can be next year is even bigger and better.
And we had our own Lee Smith out there today, right?
We did.
And Lee went out there and he talked to those guys ahead of their playoff game coming up this weekend. Let's check out a little bit about what they had to say.
How's his injury status?
Day by day. Yeah, he's still a bit sore. So today we try a little bit, but we'll assess him tomorrow. We'll see.
If he can't go, I assume Jay is likely to step in?
Yeah, don't know yet. It's a possibility, of course. He's the one that played the other day there. I have Ossie, I have Amar, I have Santi, so we'll see.
What's the dynamic between Jay and Tristan when Jay comes in? Is Jay playing as more of a 6 at that point, or is Tristan dropping back?
Yeah. So Rosetto's been more the 6 as well. Ajani, he can play both, but when he enters for Rosetto, he's more the 6. When he enters for Tristan, he's more of an 8, right? Ossie is more of a 6, Amar is more of an 8, Santi is more of a 6. So we have options. That's the good thing.
What do you like about Jay's skill set as a 6?
Well, a couple things. One is his physicality. I think he's one that can match the intensity of many attacking midfielders. So that's number one. Defensive skills are pretty good. And then on the ball, he's pretty dominant as well. He likes to receive the ball in between the lines and progress the ball forward. He has also some change of pace on the move, so he can dribble past players. So he has a very good skill set, but also I like his mentality, his competitive mentality. He's a winner.
When you're playing a team for the fourth time in 5 games now, I think that's right.
I'm sorry, what, 4 times in?
In 5 games? The past 5, you played Columbus 4 times now?
Yeah.
Is there anything you can change that surprises them, or is it just do what you do best and go from there?
I don't think there are many surprises at this point, not just between us two, but in general in the league. Most of the teams are consistent with what we have been doing throughout the whole season, or at the end, at least the last part of the season. So I don't think there are many surprises. Yeah, you can tweak little things, but I wouldn't call that surprise.
When you went back and watched the film, can you just talk a little bit about Tristan immediately after the game? But when you went back and watched film of Game 2, can you just expand a little bit on the things he was doing well that helped everybody around him?
Well, he had a monster performance in terms of pressing actions, recovery balls, dictating tempo on the ball. He was everywhere. He was literally everywhere, and the way he takes the angles to cover ground and the spacing awareness that he has to defend and attack is fantastic. Which has been consistent. I think this game he stepped up a little bit higher level, but he's been pretty dominant almost in every game. This one shined a little bit more, and I'm glad he did because he had a tremendous game.
And why is that particularly important against a team like Columbus that likes to hold the ball and build out for the back and can be very patient in its attack and in its movements?
Well, it's just, I mean, Columbus has many strengths, but I think that one of their main strengths is their pairing in midfield. I think those two normally dictate tempo, normally are very physical midfielders, and I think this game, Tristan and Rossetto, Gianni, they did a great job against them, and I think that we were the dominant team in that part of the field. So that's why it was important, because midfielders dictate a bit the style of the team. And if you have midfielders that don't like to receive in between the lines, that don't like to progress the ball forward, then sometimes you don't have the type of possession that you want to. So I'm glad that all the midfielders that I have are good on the ball, good off the ball, and we can match that intensity against Columbus.
Is there more pressure on y'all or Columbus in this Game 3, do you think?
Both.
Both?
Yeah.
Pressure, equal pressure? Even though you're at home?
I mean, I don't know. Pressure, no pressure. Like for me, it's more motivation, right? Okay. I mean, there's stress, there's anxiety as well. How you describe pressure? Like pressure is, being a single mother trying to feed your kids without job. That's pressure. That's pressure. And this is just enjoyment and motivation to face a good opponent in playoffs. That's motivation to me. But of course, there's the stress of the little things, the little message in my side, how I can message the players the right things, how I can call the right things, how I can choose the lineups, how I can do all the little things before the preparation. So this little stress on what is the right amount of message, right amount of film, right amount of training sessions. So that's the stress that we go through. It's nothing. It's enjoyment.
All right, Bailey, we're heading to the weekend. What's on your mind?
What is on my mind? Big matchup in Athens this weekend. Old Miss visiting Georgia. I don't think Brock Bowers is going to return. I think that's a myth. I think he is working his way back, but I don't think we see him at least until the SEC championship game, if that. I mean, if I'm him, I don't play again. But listen.
I'm with you.
I don't know him, and I don't know how he wants to operate, but that would be my take, is we don't see him. I do think Georgia wins this weekend, though.
I think they win, too, to add on to your take. And I'm with you with Brock Bowers. I don't think he should put on a UGA uniform ever again, except for at the celebration for their third straight national championship, which I think will happen. But real quick, let's get to Georgia Tech here. They will face Clemson this weekend. I don't like them to beat Clemson. Georgia Tech has been so up and down this whole season. I think Brent Key's done a solid job, but they haven't been very consistent.
If they win, so these are the numbers. If they beat Georgia Tech, it will be the first time since 2014. if they win in Death Valley, it will be the first time since 2008. And if they win, it will be the first time they're bowl eligible since 2018.
Well, hey, look, that's pretty dope. I don't think Clemson has fallen off that much, though, for them to win.
We'll find out, won't we? We will find out.
So we'll see. Hey, that's been really that's been cool for Sports Tonight on this Friday, exciting football Friday. Bailey, we have to do it again sometime soon.
Yes, we will.
All right, everybody, have a good day.